This video will talk about doors, windows, and openings because each of them have things in common. If I select from the toolbar the door option, you'll see on the right the doors are populated. Similarly with the windows, if I select the opening option, the catalog changes to openings. If I go back to doors, you'll see that they're broken down into entry doors, interior, and then a variety of door choices. Windows, fixed casement, double casement, and so forth. And openings are basically rectangular doors, arch doors, then openings in general, and niches or niches. Here I've placed a window, a door, and an opening. And by double-clicking the window itself, I will get its properties dialog, and you can see that I can size it, I can adjust in this case on a double hung, adjust the panels, I can add additional horizontal panels or additional horizontal and vertical panes. In the lights option, I can put a highlight on the top, and in order to get it to fit the window, I come to adjust width here and select to window option. And then I change this to 1, panes to 1, horizontal and vertical panes to 1, and end up with just the single pane highlight on the top. I can do that with the bottom and with the right and with the left. And then you have details on framing and of course your appearance, picking materials that get applied, line work that occurs in the 2D mode, and then in the quantity mode. And under quantities, one thing that's important is this mark option, which is a 2'6" by 5 window, so it's a 2650. And when that's assigned to that window, you get this mark. Now you can see that because I made these adjustments, this window actually changed. If I pop into 3D, you'll see it's go up to edit and undo. If I go back to 2D mode and look at doors, I double click those. Again, we have the ability to size it, have the ability to add highlights on top, side lights, and they can also be accessed here and customized under the lights option. And again, we have our details for framing, sash, and mullion sizes, our appearance settings, how they appear in 2D, and then our quantity mode, giving the mark as a size, but also adding assemblies, a lock set and a deadbolt, which will be calculated in your materials. If I go to the openings option, the basic size, and then do I want to make it into a niche. If I go with distance and set it to 3 inches, that means that it'll be an opening with a 3-inch recess solid behind it. You have your appearance tab, your 2D line adjustments, and your quantity tab, giving it size of that opening. I can use the door here as an example of some other options that occur with a right click. So if I select that door and right click, you can see I can flip that opening and I can flip the swing. When I go to properties, I can also adjust that in 2D to have a reduced opening, let's say 10%, or increasing that opening, 45%. And then the same holds true of that door in 3D. So if I were to go to properties and set that from a closed door at 0, and in 3D we could just go up to 50%, which is a 90-degree angle. That door opens to 90 degrees. Another aspect of openings in general is that they feed off of our building location settings. So you can see here we have a head height of 6'8". And let's go to 3D. When I select this window and look at its properties in terms of elevation, you'll see it's at 6'8". And this door has an elevation of 0. And this has an elevation of 6'8". Now, one thing about this opening is that I've converted it from a 6'8" opening to an 8-foot high opening. And the purpose of that is to show you that the 6'8" is the insertion height. If I want this to be then an 8-foot high opening, and I have my building location set at 6'8", then that would require that I elevate this to 8 feet. The other option I would have had is to come down and change this to 8 feet and then insert the 8-foot opening. So when dealing with openings, you have to take into account what is the floor location set at to start with, and what is the actual dimension of the opening. And if it's higher, taller than the head height setting, then you can either adjust the head height setting or elevate